And welcome into From the Tips, episode 3. And we're excited to be here. It's the Arnold Palmer Invitational Week. And my co-host, Detroit
Good
Dave,
evening.
also known as Drew, or I just call him Pro. How you doing, Pro?
I'm doing well. How are you? I'm glad to be back for another Thursday, another good golf tournament.
Yeah, this tournament's it's got the makings of something pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm really excited about it. We've had some ups and downs. Some of our picks and plays. We're going to get into that.
Yes.
And talk about the hits and misses already. We're gonna go through a complete round one recap here. We're gonna talk about the international players and how well they do here and why. We're gonna talk about Morikawa. Is he the best of the young guns now? Is he separating himself? We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about a little bit about Ryder Cup, and then we're gonna give our Mount Rushmore of golfers. And then we are going to do a 3-player snake draft and wrap it up with our prediction for who's going to win the tournament since round one is now over.
Love it.
That being said, man, what do you think about round one?
Yeah. From two guys that we've been kind of used to fading here the last couple of weeks, Rory and Bryson kind of came out and it looked for at least today that kind of the big guns were out there swinging. I mean, the thing that kind of stood out to me with Bryson, he looked a little bit more under control today as far as his tempo. He didn't seem to be swinging out of his shoes. He hit a good amount of fairways. And I mean, again, with Rory started to drive the ball well. He made a lucky bomb from like 55 feet, and that opened up the hole. And that's when that beginning of the 5 birdies in a row happened. And he's a guy like we said, he's any week you could see Rory just get it going, but the two big guys on the top, it'll be fun. But again, there's a lot of good names up there. Nobody's kind of pulled away at this point, but certainly some guys have shot their way out of this thing pretty much already.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and touch on a couple of those guys. First one being 3 out of 4 of our panel, picking up Terrell Hatton.
Yes.
And boy, what a letdown he was today, huh? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. One thing that I can say about watching Terrell Hatton, it's never a boring round.
No, it's not.
I actually prefer him when he's playing like garbage, just because he gets a little fired up, and he definitely was today. And for a guy that's been super consistent, his ball striking was kind of all over the place today. He just didn't have it. At 5 over, I mean, that puts him 11 back at this point. That's really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Certainly, he's a guy that can come out tomorrow and fight to make the cut, but definitely has to be disappointing coming off of a win last year. The golf course, though, is you could already see it's kind of, definitely playing different than it did last year based off conditions. But so you're definitely not going to see a 4 or so under. It's going to probably be in that 12 to 14 range. But he might have shot himself out of it today. And you're right, a guy that a lot of people had, on their boards, and the model liked him, and it was hard to find a reason not to like him. And that just shows you golf.
I'll give you your props. Nick, Justin, and myself all had Hatton as our one of our 10K plays. You're the only one that didn't play him as a 10K play, and so. And you did play Rory. You also played Reed as one of your 10K plays, and Reed is a little trouble.
Disappointing day, yeah.
But you know what? He's +1. That's not horrible. But he has the ability to come up tomorrow and fire up a 65, 66. Maybe a 67, but
66, 67 puts him right back in the tournament. By all means. But yeah, it was a course that we talked about. It has its diff. I always like to take Rory Mcilroy on a course that's Patrick Reed on a course that's difficult, just because of his short game. It looked like a good pick last week. It's still early here, but he got out of the gates. I think he had 2 bogeys in the first 6 holes, and so he's kind of playing behind the 8 ball. Didn't give himself a lot of close opportunities today, but that's a guy you would hope to play better tomorrow.
Well, let's talk about our boy up in Canada. Let's talk about Connors.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about Connors. I got him at 90 to 1. He was one of my personal picks, my outrights for this week. And what was really cool is Guru sent a message to the chat this afternoon saying, hey, you can get him at 200 or 220 as a first round leader still on so-and-so sports book.
Yeah.
And then I went to DraftKings, and he was 330.
Like, sign me up.
335. So I signed up right away, even though he was only one behind Rory with 9 holes to go. And so that was an easy score. With 335 for first round leader. So I was real happy. I was real happy about that one. But what do you think about his?
Corey Connors is an interesting story. If I remember correctly, I think he Monday qualified to get into an event last year, went on to win. And that's kind of how he has his status now. So one of those guys that kind of went.
That was the Valero Open, wasn't it?
Yep, I believe it was the Valero Texas Open. Yep. And so, one of those stories about a guy that kind of this game, we see it every week on the Korn Ferry Tour and developmental tours. There's guys shooting 10, 11 under everywhere. So a lot of these guys off the Korn Ferry Tours and things like that, all it takes is them to swing good one week and they can be as good as the best. I mean, that's all it takes. So all these guys are super talented. He hits a lot of fairways. He was good today. Kind of the way things ended on 18 weren't great, but a guy that I expect to, of course, fade as the week goes on, but a good first round story.
Oh, come on now.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Man, he's good. Remember Tuesday night when we did our show, I actually came out and said he was 4th overall in my model.
You did. And that one is a definitely
number
one
4
that
in my model. And
that's a feather in your cap there. No doubt about it.
But of course, I also had Burns number 2. And,
yes.
He's 5 over.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are eating the crow right now on Burns. A lot of people were on Burns.
A lot of people like me got screwed by Louis Oosthuizen this morning.
We'll go there next. But what happened to
Burns? I mean, listen, he just didn't play well today. And in his game, he was playing really, really well, for at least a 2-3 month stretch. It seems like it's kind of fading a little bit. But again, on a golf course like this, there's a couple holes where you can certainly make a couple squares around your scorecard, and it puts you behind the 8 ball. And so, again, with a guy like that, we talked about it. Everybody was kind of on him, or we at least thought everybody was going to be on him coming into the week. And 5 under, he currently sits tied for 107, and he has 2 double bogeys on the scorecard. That's just tough to come back from. He's shooting 41 on the backside, not good. So he's, again, one of those guys that might just be too far out of this, and he might be packing his bags early.
Yeah, I think he is. At 5 over, that bugs me. Let's go ahead and talk about another player that we all had really high, and he's also one of our consensus picks. That's Kokrak.
Yes.
He looks pretty good.
Yeah. I've been riding the Kokrak tails, the last 3 weeks or so. A guy that, I mean, again, we talked about this. He was known kind of for his driving length and never really put it all together. Well, this last year and a half or so, he's really become a strong player and a consistent player. Nonetheless, at that, he had a nice finish last week at Concession. He's a guy that can hang around. Go ahead.
He only had 1 bogey all day, and that was on 18. But other than that, man, his scorecard was clean with 5 birdies.
And 18 will do that to you. 18 is not. I mean,
18 is tough, and so I'm not putting too much blame on Corey Connors for bogeying 18. I mean, he had a pristine round as well. I mean, he had of course he had an eagle as well, but yeah, Kokrak, man. He's played well. He's kind of, again, one of those guys within the value of DraftKings has him right now. With his consistency he's been playing, you kind of got to plug him if you can. Absolutely. And so, I got a little action on Kokrak, a little action on Connors. Tringali, I'm not sure. Tringali, I think where he ended up 2 over, or he was at 1.3 under.
Yes, he was at 1 point.
He's 2 under. He's 2 under.
Yep, he's right there. He's in good shape.
He's right there with your boy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your boy.
Yeah,
I thought he would on this course.
He played really well today.
Guru giving some shit on him.
That's right. He played well today. Outside of the swing at 6, where he rinsed one on that we highlighted on Tuesday, that par 5 can really kind of take your medicine there. But he played well. He hit a lot of fairways. I'm telling you, in my opinion, his game looks like it's coming along. And to scrape 2 under out of that, he made a few really nice nice par saves, and the bogey save. Yeah. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. The bogey save that he made on 6 after dunking one in the water, then blowing the second tee shot into the fairway bunker, made a good 12, 14 footer for par. Those kind of putts. The ones for par are more momentum boosts and keeping the momentum riding than say, you're making birdies all the time. Those were the ones that keep the round going.
Right. Well, the stats don't lie, and we Guru went over the stats, and the only way we thought that he could score well would be if he hit some fairways, and so that's kind of he's doing it. He's hitting fairways, and so he saw a negative score because we also talked about how good he is around the green.
Yeah, sure, and trust me, like I get 100%. Like not everybody's crazy like me to keep riding Jordan Spieth. The numbers say don't do it.
I love the guy.
So do I. And the numbers say don't do it. And Guru's right. His numbers overall, I mean, if you look at his last year and a half, 2 years, his numbers are atrocious. But I think things are starting to and he's not before he was scoring with not hitting the ball well, which that's kind of what Jordan Spieth can do because his ability to make 20-foot putts all the time. But now he's actually starting to hit the ball well. And the scoring is going to come along with that instead of, trying to save your rear end all day long, getting up and down from places. He's starting to get more birdie looks. The rounds seem to be a little less stressful for him. Now, with that being said, like Guru said, we'll see what happens Sunday. I'm interested to see it. But, hey, I think the more times he puts himself in contention, the better those, getting back to those juices and the anxiousness and the nervousness of being in the final group or coming, late down Sunday in one of those last groups. He's got to build that back up. It's been a long time since he's really, had been under the gun come the back nine on Sunday.
Yeah. First, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does tomorrow. I think he probably gained a little confidence with that driver a little bit today. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, it was definitely one of Guru's fades, as well as another fade of Guru was Hovland, and 3 under. He could have been better. He was actually 2 under on the first 3 holes.
Yes,
but he ended up 3 under, and I still like him as a favorite to win the tournament. I still think I believe and we're going to talk about this in a minute. I think he is just under, if not right at par with Morikawa, and we'll get to that in just a second. One other guy I want to talk about, 2 other guys real quick. Ricky Fowler, he just don't have it.
Yeah, glad you brought Ricky up. He's just not there. I mean, he's all over the place. He's got a 2-way miss. We talked about how it's kind of gone into his putting stroke. I mean, it's just not there right now. And he had some comments, I think, on Wednesday, and he's just like, yeah, I'm pissed off. I'm sick of sucking, Like at some point, for a world-class player, what once was, and I mean, he's won what some consider the 5th major, he's been on Ryder Cup teams. I mean, Ricky's a guy that's always been around and been a really good player. And sometimes when you go through swing changes, it takes a long time. But we're going on a couple years now, or he just hasn't been right. And it's tough to see because you watch it and he just doesn't really know where the golf ball is going right now. And it's not overly surprising. It is pretty – it's kind of a bummer, though, because he's one of the most popular players on our tour. And
the shade Nick Fowler threw to him?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's ridiculous, by the way. Nick Faldo.
That surprised me a little bit, but I will be honest. I've thought about that. It's just like I thought about Baker Mayfield when he keeps doing all those commercials.
Yeah,
until last year, and he sucked.
Yep.
But Ricky Fowler hasn't been relevant in a few years.
It's true,
and he continues to get all those endorsements. And Nick threw this shade at him, and I think it backfired on him a little bit. But it is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But and Zalatoris, I keep trying to kick that football, and Lucy keeps pulling it away.
Where Will finish today? I didn't see him.
He's one over. He's one
okay.
over on this course. First day, 1 over. I'll take. He's only 7 behind the leaders, and so if he comes out and fires a good round tomorrow, he could do just fine. And so, but we're talking about a 50% cut line this week.
Yep.
Interesting. So it'll be interesting to see where the cut ends up. Because Connors is going out in the morning, And Rory's going out in the afternoon, and we'll kind of see a reverse roll and see how that plays out.
Yeah, I did notice the greens started to kind of bake out a little bit this afternoon.
Yes.
I noticed some brownness on the green. So
I think they're going to water the crap out of them tonight.
Yeah, and I also think, if come Sunday they don't get too much rain or any rain, it could be firm and fast. And
that'll be fun.
It's a fun golf course when it's firm and fast.
It's a putting contest.
Yeah, like I saw Rory hit a tee shot on 6 today that I think it carried 309, and that's over the lake. And once they're hitting the fairways, they're running out. So if things continue to crisp up, it'll be a fun, fast weekend down at Bay Hill.
Right. International players. Okay, this tournament has been dominated by international players over the last 8 years, and I just wanted to talk about that. I have a small theory of my own, but I want to hear what are your thoughts on why international players are doing so well at this tournament.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. We mentioned it in the show. I mean, look at the leaderboard.
Well, Rory's at top, and then you got a Canadian tied with him, but
you basically have Kokrak and DeChambeau, and that's it.
But you got international. You got On right there. Then you got Munoz, Perez, Laird. You go all the way down to Griffin before you find the next American. Then you got Westwood, Fitzpatrick, Hovland, and Hovland's technically, well, I don't know, M. And then you got a line of Americans, and then you got Fleetwood and Wallace and Christian Bezuidenhout and Sabatini and Casey and Poulter, and so there are more internationals at the top 15% than Americans by a pretty good clip.
Yeah, I just think that the way this golf course kind of sets up, and some of the shots you have to play, it may favor the European. I mean, I feel like those guys are hitting more fairways right now. If you look out of the top guys, more difficult golf courses, I think the Europeans tend to step up. You typically see guys like Matthew Fitzpatrick. We said it coming into this week. The guy plays well at hard golf courses. And I just think these guys are all ball strikers, right? These are guys that are hitting fairways and greens and giving themselves opportunities. And it's kind of an anomaly that it's been that way, I feel like. I don't know if it's.
Well, could it be that the field is loaded with a whole lot more Europeans than normal? Because it feels like a lot of the Europeans play in Europe, and then they come over this time of the year to get a warm-up tournament in for the players, and then a few weeks later the Masters.
That's a good point. Because if you think about it,
the Americans have been playing on these all.
They've been playing out in California.
A lot of American players, the best players are all Dustin Johnson, all those guys. They're all kind of relaxing this week in line of the Players' Championship next week. Yeah,
and it certainly could be that. And like you said, I mean, yeah, because you don't see a ton of these European guys playing in the California swing. You just don't.
No.
And so you're right. But also, a lot of these guys live in Florida, believe it or not, which many guys on tour do. But I think, it's definitely become apparent that there's definitely a string of them putting it together. I wouldn't be surprised to see, Bryson or American get it done this week, but it does bring into question. To me, it's a lot of the way the course is set up. And that is a good point that you make. I mean, this is kind of the Florida swing is kind of like the real kickoff for a lot of the Europeans. They don't even really mess, out in the West Coast.
Well, you get the Players and the Masters in 4 weeks, and so it's go time for them.
Yep.
So let's talk about Morikawa and Hovland and Scheffler and so even Scheffler's not playing in the field this week.
Yep.
And so what are your thoughts? All these young guns that have come in the last couple of years and how they're already starting to dominate. Morikawa has firmly entrenched himself, obviously, as the number one of the young bucks, purely on wins. But what are your thoughts here? How would you rank the top 3, top 4 young guns?
It's funny that you mention it. I know how much you like Victor Hovland.
I do.
And so we'll talk. So you would think of the class that just came in, which was 2 Okie State guys, Victor Hovland, Matt Wolff, and then the Cal kid and Colin Morikawa. Yeah, you can throw in Scotty Scheffler. There's some other guys you can throw in. To me, Victor Hovland is at the top of the list.
Zalatoris, Scheffler.
Yeah, and I think Victor Hovland is at the top of that list. And the reason I believe so is I think ball striking wise, don't get me wrong, Colin Morikawa is a fantastic iron player, but from tee to green, Victor Hovland is as good as he gets. Now, I don't think he's even touched the surface of how good he can be short game wise. I actually think his short game is not very good right now, and I think he'd be the first to tell you. I just think overall game, he's the guy I think is going to be the most consistent and winning a lot. Now, listen, Morikawa definitely, of course, comes in at 2 there, and this is kind of picking hairs because both kids are incredible. Of course, Morikawa at this point is with a WGC in a major is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. But still, the overall game to me, I'm going to lean with Victor Hovland. Then I would put Morikawa, and it's hard to say anything good about Matt Wolff right now. I don't think his wife could say anything good about his game right now. So that's the way I see it. Of course, I like Scotty Scheffler. He's got a ton of game. He's got a ton of game. It's just he hasn't shown us that he's able to put it together for 4 rounds. He can go low. He's been in contention. He will get a win. But out of those 4 guys, I would probably put at this point Scotty Scheffler over Matt Wolff. That's not saying Wolff can't get it back. Yeah,
right now I would go strictly because, well, you know how I am with Hovland, and I love him. I'm doing Morikawa 1A, Hovland 1B. And what scares me, and not scare me, I love it. I think both those guys are going to dominate golf. They're going to be like Tiger, Phil. I'm not saying they're going to be like Tiger, but they're going to be those 2.
Yeah, they'll be the 2 pillars
guys, and I think they're going to take off. But if Morikawa truly does have this claw grip, rocking like he did last weekend, boy, that guy with his iron play and he could be really, really good.
Yeah.
And then I would put Scheffler number 2, and then I would put Zalatoris number 3, and then Wolff number 4 of those guys.
Yeah.
And then we got to talk about Burns and Berger, but they're a little bit longer in the tooth. But I'm looking to the new young bucks that are coming in.
If we're adding Daniel Berger into that mix, he goes up to number 3 for me then.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, he's got a quirky-ass golf swing. He's got a terrible putting routine. Sometimes he's brutal to watch, but he has a golf swing where you think the ball's heading 75 yards left every time he hits it. He just hits this hold-off buttercut, and he's been fantastic. And he's just such an underrated player and an under-talked-about player. He's really been consistent, and he's just a guy you don't hear his name a lot when you talk about guys that you're picking to win and things like that. Right. But he's definitely been there to make some noise.
Yep. Hey, let's talk about the Ryder Cup. I haven't paid much attention. I haven't even been focused on it at all. What are your thoughts? Have you been paying attention? Or
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at just some rankings. I mean, it's a little early, but of course, we're it's going to be it's in America. It's up at Whistling, which is a fantastic piece of property.
I played it.
Yeah,
I played Whistling up there,
and Black Wolf Run and all those places are
played all of them.
It's just as good as it gets. But I mean, to think today for the Americans who would be in, DJ, Bryson, JT, Koepka, Morikawa, Schauffele,
Hovland.
Well, Hovland.
Is he going to play for America? Is he going to play for the Euros?
No, he'll only play in the President's Cup since he's from where? Norway, I believe.
Denmark.
Okay. So I don't think he's going to be. He'll be a President's Cup player. But so you got those 6 guys, and then you got your captain's picks. And so that's where it gets interesting to me. I think Tony Finau is 100% on that team.
Absolutely.
I think you'd be crazy if not. But then it gets to Patrick Reed's on that team, right? Patrick Reed's got to be on that team. So then you get to the 2 spots that are very interesting to me. And it's hard to peg who I think would actually be in there. I mean, I think Patrick Cantlay is a guy that they have to have on the team.
Yeah.
And I believe this year, and don't get me wrong, I believe you get 12. So it's 6 in 4 captains picks, I want to say. I could be wrong.
I thought it was 10.
It may be 10. But yeah, and so I think you Cantley, and then I would say Daniel Berger, somebody we just brought up. Those would be the guys on the outside looking in right now between Finau, Cantley, Berger that I would want on the team. 6 captain picks. Okay, thank you all, Falcon Day. So that's a lot of captain's picks. Then you get into guys like who's going to be playing well, who's in good form. Is Jordan Spieth coming? No, just kidding. I don't expect Jordan Spieth to make this team, but for being that far out, and that's why it is difficult. And that's why you've seen Strickers starting to play more this year, is because he wants to try to get in some rounds with these guys. But those would be my first 3. I think then you would think of a Kuchar. I just don't know if Ricky's playing good enough. Of course, Tiger's probably not going to be playing. So those are about 4 guys I would go with. Then to jump over to the Euros, and the European team is pretty damn good. So we think about Matt Fitzpatrick, Terrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy. They're going to be pretty stacked there. And then what I expect the European team and Podrick Harrington to do is just go out and fill it with guys that have been around a Ryder Cup for a long time. I think we did lose it at Hammerjacks there all Falcon Day, but the show must go on. Now, Hovland, yes. Well, yeah, if Hovland's going to be able to play, then yeah, absolutely. But I think a Lee Westwood would be kind of a guy that you could see based off the way he's playing. I think an Ian Poulter's a guy that you always want to have on a Ryder Cup team. But it'll be interesting. Again, after the Americans who have to overthink everything and they go out and fill and they get this task force, right? And Paul Casey, yes, good point. Paul Casey's another one of those guys, a ball striking Jesse you'd want on the team. They're stacked. They're absolutely stacked. And that's why they've been tough to beat. I mean, they're damn good players. The thing is with me, we're coming back to the States. We're on American soil. We're heading up to Whistling. Stricker's home ground, his home stomping grounds. I think it's going to be a very interesting Ryder Cup. There's definitely a lot of anticipation, in my opinion, built up based off of what wasn't of the President's Cup last year. So that's what I'm definitely looking forward to as far as we get into the Ryder Cup. A lot of European guys playing well right now and coming into form. We're still a little while out. But yeah, that's a tough team. And even though America's team, the Americans have a very nice team that they're putting out there, there's guys form right now that you question kind of on the American side, or who you would think that the Americans would be taking. And so I don't know where Hammerjacks wanted to touch after that. I'm going to pop back up here while I'm just rolling solo and just talk a little bit more about the leaderboard. Couple guys that I wanted to mention here. Let me get this pulled up. So Cameron Champ's a guy I wanted to mention. I can't pull up the comments on here, but let's see. Bingo. Hey, Hammerjacks. Yeah, we're here, brother.
Oh my God, what happened?
You're good. I was just touching on Cameron Champ real quick. Since we did a little Ryder Cup there when we lost you, but just to touch on Cameron Champ, a guy he might be kind of off the reservation as well, and he's one of those guys that hits the ball so far that when things are out of whack, I mean it's just exacerbated, right? So he's kind of lost his game. It's tough. The kid's been through a lot. And just the other thing that I thought we wanted to touch on is Louis Oosthuizen can go to hell.
Oh, yes. Okay? Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, Louis Oosthuizen ruined 2 of my rosters. He owes me $8. I will send in the invoice.
He owes me more than that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no doubt. But welcome back.
That ruined my day. Yeah, Louis, and you know what? He's withdrawn from a lot of tournaments, and he usually does it on Thursday morning. And a lot of people already have those lineups in, and they have those outrights. Now, of course, I did get credited all my outright money on at my book, but
let's talk all those when the peg goes in the ground at 7 a.m., it's hard to adjust your roster, right?
Yeah.
You gotta. So
Yeah. That sucked. As a matter of fact, I tweeted this morning that he's probably going to be he's going to be on my can't trust list.
yes.
He may look good for a tournament, but you know what? I can't trust him, and so I'm really frustrated at Louis, and I quit you, Louis.
Do it.
So
he deserves everything.
Well, hey,
right
Pro. I understand you made a nice little golf tip for us.
I did. I tried to put it together. It was my wife's filming, so I apologize if there was any bad filming. That's totally on her. But hey, listen, if it's going to help anybody, help one person, two people, anybody have any suggestions on something they'd like to hear me talk about, I don't mind doing a little minute here and there each week to try to give some tips. That would be fun to do, and I'm sure it'll hopefully be helpful to somebody.
Well, I'm going to put it on. You ready?
Yeah, man, go for it.
All right, here we go. Set them up. What are they about to watch?
Great. So we were talking, and I know that in golf, and a lot of higher handicap golfers, the number one problem we have is hitting a slice, right? Just the way it is. And this drill right here, and we talked about this before. This drill is to make sure you do not get the club inside. And this is something I struggle with in my own golf game. It's very simple to get into this habit. The problem is, and you'll see here, is basically what the drill is we're bringing the club and trying to keep it down along the shaft as long as we can to try to create width going back. So we're not getting the club inside and getting ourselves stuck. So that's kind of what you're going to be seeing. The problem is when you get inside, you start coming over the top. So this is a drill to work on, and you can do it at home. That'll help you kind of get, that muscle memory of trying to get the club on the proper plane. That way you can bring it down the proper plane.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and watch it.
So this week, based on what we did the week one, working on getting behind the ball, we're kind of working on the slice at this point. So drill you can do at home in the winter, put down a club. And what we're trying to do is have this club go straight back. With the club, you're going to follow along the shaft plane, low and slow. And what this is wanting to do is get you in this position. The reason the takeaway is so important, and what a lot of amateurs do that slice the golf ball, is they start getting the club far inside,
99% of the golfers.
Top in order to hit the ball, causing side spin. So what we want to make sure we do is try to drag this along that line as long as we can, get the club in this position. You're going to notice there's separation here. There's more width. So when we get the club to the top, we have the ability to come down in. So again, just down the line, get into this position, just keep working on this right here, making sure you're not getting the club behind you, because then you're stuck. There's nothing you can do on the top. So this week, basing off of what we did the week one, working on getting behind the ball.
You know what? I'll tell you this, that was much needed for me, because I've had a bad back, and I'm not going to say I get lazy, but I do find myself in that turning. I don't go all the way back on a straight line like you do a lot of times, and I have to remind myself, and then my elbow starts turning way too soon, and it just gets me all out of whack. And so I'm definitely going to work on that drill myself. I really appreciate that. That's a really good tip. I'd love to see us do something like that once a week or something like that.
Not a problem.
Hey, our buddy came on. All Falcon Day. That's good stuff. Hey, you missed our big discussion about Rory Mcilroy, and we're pretty excited about his round today. It's pretty good. Okay, so thanks for the tip. I want to ask you this. Last week I asked you the perfect pairing, who you'd like to be on the course with. This week I'm going to ask you, Pro, what is your Mount Rushmore of golfers? If you had to pick 4 and put them on a mountain, who would they be?
Tiger, easy shoe-in one for me.
Tiger's on my list, obviously.
Yeah, Jack's a 2. I think the top 2 are kind of hard to argue.
Yeah, everybody's going to have those.
Yep, Ben Hogan would be a number 3 for me.
Ben Hogan's on my list.
Yep, Ben Hogan would be at 3 for me. Ben Hogan.
Well, the guy's got 64 wins and 9 majors, and
he got hit by like a bus, right? And then my 4th, I would go with Sam Snead. Wins alone.
Snead over Palmer?
Yep. Yep. Now, Palmer, to me, Palmer did more for the game in general with growing the game and some of the things he did with Golf Channel, being the personality he is and just being as outgoing and approachable as he was. What he did for the game, I think, would be at a higher level than, say, a Sam Snead. But Sam Snead, the wins speak for themselves. And again, I know it's hard judging those eras, but that would be the guy that I would take. And Cat, would not put Rory there. But
I'm not putting Rory there either. I will say that it was really close for me between Snead, Hagan, and Arnold Palmer, and I went with Palmer because of what he did for the game of golf.
Sure.
And also the fact that he was fourth in majors. And although Snead had 18 more wins total overall, he didn't come close in majors. And so, but I took the combine of the majors and the wins and then the impact that he had on the game. And that's why I put Palmer in my four. So I got Tiger, Jack, Palmer, and Hogan. And
it's a pretty good four.
Yeah, and you can insert Snead, you can insert Hagan.
Yep.
But what I found interesting as I was looking at the list, you got to go all the way down the list before you find any kind of a modern era player.
Tom Watson,
or Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson. I'm talking about wins, and you got to go quite a bit ways down. And you know who doesn't get any respect, and he's 14th overall in wins?
Who's that?
Vijay Singh.
Yeah.
Vijay Singh, man, that guy had 34 wins
in the Tiger era for the most part too.
Exactly, and that's a big part of it. And and it's just that guy was amazing. I was there when he won the Masters.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
That was my first trip to Augusta.
And his longevity too. His game started to prosper somewhat into his 30s. And then he was just, again, a model of consistency. The guy worked his tail off. There's stories of this guy hitting 500, 600, 800 balls a day, all day long. That's the kind of grind the guy puts in. So absolutely underrated career.
Yeah, he was an amazing player and an amazing person too. And so, I'm going to give him a little bit more love there. Okay, so you beat me last week. You beat me, but it was by default because we both had players that sucked.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't good. Our snake draft sucked. We're gonna do better this week.
Well, you had the number one pick last week. Do you want to flip for it, or are you going to let me have the number one pick this week?
That's all you did.
All right. Would it be blasphemy if I went against one of my own guy? All right.
No,
here's
it's safe.
I got the number one.
It's called hedging your bet, sir.
I got the number one pick. This is for tomorrow's round only.
Yep.
Okay. I am taking Rory number one. Let me get my pen here. All right, I got Rory.
I'm gonna go with Victor Hovland.
I don't like that pick.
I knew you wouldn't. I was gonna take Matt Fitzpatrick, but I was like, I think this feels right.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and because he has found the greens, I'll go with Bryson.
I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth.
I knew that was coming, man. All right. So I got my last pick. And
how the hell did Ben On shoot 4 under? Ben On has been off the planet. I went out of my way to fade him this week, and then he shows up and shoots 68. Like, what is that?
I know. I am going to go with Paul Casey.
I like that pick.
And so those are my three: Rory, Bryson, and Casey. And you've got Hovland, Spieth, Sakatumi with Connors.
No, I'm going to take Matt Fitzpatrick.
That's a good play.
Yeah, I like that one. No, I'm going to leave Connors alone. Some of the times when I think of this too, and you see it in golf, it's so hard to follow up a really low day or a low day with another low day, right?
I know.
So, a lot of the times when you guys see a guy go, shoot 63 or 64, I know 66 was low today, but it's hard to come out and match that the next day. So not saying he can't do it, but yeah, and somebody mentioned to me, you could think Terrell Hatton would be another guy just tomorrow that you would expect to get his head out of his rear end, or just see the snowball effect, right, and he just slam his clubs into his trunk on the way out.
He could pull a Bubba Watson and just quit.
Yeah, go to Louis.
That was bad. That was real bad. Okay, round 1 is in the books. We've seen what we've seen. You see the leaderboard. Let's hear it. Who's your pick to win?
Rory. Yeah. I had a good feeling about Rory coming to the week. He's played well here before. He's again, the weapon is beginning the driver's beginning to become a weapon again. And when that happens, it's the best weapon in all of golf. It's better than a Bryson driver weapon. Rory's consistently the best driver in golf. He's getting back there. Listen, Guru, I mentioned Hatton. I said he could have a great day. It's just, or he could just be at the local pub tonight, just booking his flight and having a couple pints. You never know with Hatton. So those are my 3 guys, and I feel pretty damn good about them.
I don't feel good about this, but I do because I'm going Bryson. I was a little early on him. He had a really clean card today. He had 1 bogey and 6 birdies. If he truly is hitting these greens, and he's a good putter. If he's going to continue to hit the greens, I think he has the power to overpower some of these holes. And so I'm going to go with Bryson. Just be different. I was going to go with Rory, but I just want to be different.
Yeah, listen, I thought Bryson looked more controlled today. I thought his swing looked more under control. And let's be honest, Bryson hitting a fairway finder still going 320. And I think a lot of the times, I think Phil Mickelson could take a chapter out of this book. Sometimes just to lay back a little bit, and try to find the fairway, try to stay on the golf course. Give yourself opportunities. And Bryson, of course, is Bryson. He's like, I might go for the 6th, but he's not going for the 6th. He's just he's his games.
He's got a chance to win this thing.
Right, and he's right. Yeah, he's right there after day 1. We'll see. He has to drive the golf ball get better, or just as well as he did today, to keep it going this week. Because again, when he's missing by so much, and he's putting himself in a serious predicament. And so if he keeps the ball in play and can find it, he could absolutely win, and he could. He could get to 15, 16 under par. But again, and I think it's the same with Rory. I don't think that you can have extreme confidence in either one at this point. Given that Rory hasn't strung together 4 great rounds in a while either. So it's hard to determine out of those 2. But I definitely think you look at this leaderboard, those are your 2 horses. But man, Hovland and Fitzpatrick sitting there too.
Right there.
And with my boy Speed that too.
And I've got Connors and Kokrak. Kokrak was one of our consensus plays. He's right there at 4 under. This course, he's a horse for this course.
Yep.
So with Connors, and so Connors at 90-1, Kokrak at 35-1. Those are both plays that will not hurt my feelings if they come through.
Yeah, no doubt. And Podrick Harrington today, by the way.
Hey, how about
to
that?
The Euro Cabin?
Patty.
Yeah, 2 under. He's another guy that just constantly works on his game, and he's quirky as hell. I don't know if you remember when he was winning a lot. He would some of his pre-shot routine stuff was oof. It was rough to watch. He was like do you remember when Sergio couldn't pull the trigger? He just kept doing the damn waggle, and he would just waggle and waggle.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So
it was painful to watch.
Yeah, Podrick's got a little bit of that in him, but yeah, it's good to see him playing well because although he's he's the European guy, I think overall Podrick Harrington's a really good dude. And I think Steve Stricker is too. I think it's going to be a good Ryder Cup up in Kohler.
Yeah, and one last guy I want to just touch on real quickly is Billy Horschel.
You see, he got into it with a fan today.
What happened?
So So he missed a putt, and this is why I'm so glad fans are back. And the guy says, "Nice read, Billy." And he finishes up and he's like, there's a reason I'm on this side of the ropes and you're on that side of the ropes. And I was like, dang, I miss the fans, man.
Billy.
So,
I love Billy. I love
Billy. Exactly. Yeah, it was
Billy.
It was pretty fun. Welcome back, fans.
Oh my God, I love that. But Horschel, he reminds me like of a buddy I play golf with, man. He's got an excuse for every shot.
Yes.
And he makes sure that everybody knows it was this fault and this is why that happened. And I mean, every shot he goes, "Oh, I cannot believe it left." It's hysterical because he plays like a weekend warrior with guys at the country club. And
he's scrappy. He's scrappy as hell. His game is. I mean, he didn't have a good day at the office today. Where did he finish at?
+2.
Yeah, that's not. He was a pick in one of my leagues. Yeah, he's scrappy. He's been playing well though. He's a Florida guy. He likes Florida courses. But you're right. He's kind of a quirky little twitchy player, kind of like Spieth is. Those guys make me nervous just watching them play, just by their pre-shot routines. Kind of like a Jason Duffner who just waggles and it's uncomfortable. But yeah, that's an interesting one to bring up.
Well, cool. Well, hey man, you got any final thoughts? Before we go?
No, it was a good show. We did good, a quick show. We got a lot of information out there. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Again, hope Spieth can be in contention.
Hey, thanks for covering for me while my
oh yeah, no problem. You went frozen for a while, and I was just like,
you just took over.
Yeah, and then I was just like, we'll roll with it, and we just started talking some Ryder Cup. So hopefully I didn't drown the show, but
we're production. The production. So anyway, hey guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're a brand new show. It's called From the Tips. We talk about the tournament that's going on. We talk about players. We talk about upcoming tournaments. We talk about bets. We also do pro tips because Drew right here is a former PGA Tour club pro and teaching pro, and expect a new tip every week, and expect us to do the snake draft every week and pick our final winners and all that fun stuff. And if you have topics you want to hear us talk about, please leave a comment and please give us a thumbs up. That would mean a lot to us if you give us a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel at Hammercast Network, and it goes a long way. We do this out of the love of the game, but it helps when we get a little bit of recognition for that, and we appreciate you. If you're listening on the podcast, same thing. Subscribe to the podcast, Hammercast, and give us some feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to learn about, or if there's any other audience participation stuff that we can get involved with. But
yeah, golf tips, anything. Let us know. I'd be happy if anybody wants me to show a golf tip. We'll roll it with it.
Absolutely, and we got to get Guru in here for a little bit of this recapping next week.
Yes.
And so schedules are always a little finicky. So anyway, hey, thanks again, Drew. We look forward to recapping with you on Sunday night.
Yes, sir.
And we might even pop a few quick ones in over the weekend if you have availability. And so peace out, guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
All that? If not, make sure you head over to hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.